Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your brother Mujadid Hama'a. So something interesting today. So about 2 hours ago, I got in and I had a good conversation with a couple brothers, and the issue was on the Arab slave trade, the white Arab slave trade, and even some so-called, some black Muslims or African Muslims who had who thought that the white Arabs are the original Arabs, and so they followed them in helping enslave some Africans. So I had this conversation with this brother and a couple brothers, and they're going on about Allah and why Allah allow this and why Allah allow these things and this and that and a third. So we had a pretty deep conversation, and as you know, a lot of the white Arabs, when they took some African slaves, they castrated them, and so I guess he thought that I was going to be shy. I don't know if you want to call it shy or, I don't know, run away from the subject or something. I don't know what he thought. But as I said, yeah, there was some, definitely some white Arabs took Africans into slavery and were castrating them. And even someone was forcing Islam on them, as a means of, control. I said, but also some Orientalists like to exaggerate about that too. And they like to put more of a number on it than it is. And it's not to minimize it at all. It's not to say that it was a good thing, or some of the stuff that they do even nowadays, over in a lot of some of these white Arab countries, discriminating on our brothers and things of that nature. And some even snatching some in slavery even to this day. Right? So, we get to talking, and so I had to pose some questions to him because, I could see that they started becoming not comfortable because, one of them was on the, black woman is God concept. One of them was on that concept, and, the cosmos and how the cosmos created us and black and melanated and rich and stuff like that. And I accept the cosmos. We call it in Arabiya samawat. So when we know that the heavens, Allah, told the heavens and to come together willingly or unwillingly. They said we come together willingly, right? So we believe in Islam, that the heavens has some type of consciousness, and that on the day of judgment it'll bear witness, right? As well as the earth. So we accept these type of concepts, but we just don't call them gods themselves, right? So I expressed that to him, and then we got into the topic about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and how there's a hadith where it says that Prophet Muhammad was slave trading. So I had to stop him, and I had to distinguish for him the difference between the later white Arab slave trade of some of the Africans versus what happened in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I explained to him that you got to understand, these are family members, tribe members that were fighting each other. These are Arabs, these are black Arabs who are fighting each other, and these black Arabs, they have allies. Some tribes had allies with, some of the Abyssinians, some had allies of other tribes around them. So when this war was, happening between Muslims and Quraysh, Quraysh had many allies. I said, so and I told him, what you fail to realize is that, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received them captives, some of them were fighting on the side of Quraysh. And some of them may have been black, of course. So he did a trade. He had captives of war. And that's the difference that you need to understand. He had captives of war. He didn't keep them as slaves for himself. He had captives of war. And he said, I'll give you these and you give us our Muslim brothers over there. and they exchanged. All right. That's what happens in war when you have captives of war. Right. So that was one aspect I wanted to, because he kept saying that hadith over and over again. I had to explain to him the context is completely different from what you're trying to mix with it, which is the white Arab slave trade later on that happened. There's two different, backgrounds and concepts, right? What your right hands possess, they're not necessarily, they're not slaves, they're captives. And, a captive, they can work off. Now they can work off, what the damage that they caused during the war, they can work that off. If they people don't come get them, they got to work that off. Or the Muslim can release them free, or, the tribe that person comes from can pay the Muslims the money for it, and then he's set free. And the money is usually for the damages that the tribe caused during the war. It's blood money. So I explained that to him. I said, now we're going to get to the white Arab slave trade and some traders in Africa that may have, that thought that these Arabs, which were really, by that time had been Turks and Persians and, some from Sham who, had learned Arabic and had adopted the culture, and the Mamluks, like the Mamluk Turks who adopted the culture and then eventually became supreme and ruling over Muslim lands. So I explained that to him, like, yeah, they did a lot of slavery, and a lot of castration happened to Africans and things of nature. And there was some not black Arabs, but there were some black Africans who spoke Arabic who, thought that these white Arabs are the original Arabs. And so, of course, they helped them in that task. So then we got to the concept of deity. I'm just speeding it up for you. So first he starts off with, well, why Allah do this, and how come Allah wasn't powerful enough to free our people, and this. So I listened. I took it in. So then I finally asked him, after all that, I said, okay, number one, not all slaves, not all Africans that the white Arabs was trying to enslave got enslaved. Some of them got away. So on the reverse of that, you could say, well, why did Allah save those Africans and not save these Africans? Right? Why did he save those Africans and not these Africans? So you can't just say, why didn't he just save Africans? You have to understand that some Africans got away too. And then I was telling them that, and that's again, not to minimize what happened, but that's just the reality of the situation. Some got away, some didn't. So then I went a little deeper. I said, but, okay, so you say that Allah is a slave God. So I sat back and I asked him, I said, let me ask you a serious question, and I want you to really, really, really answer this question. He said, well, what's up? I said, okay. What is your understanding? He said, the black woman's God. I said, okay. I said, let me ask you, the black melanated woman who is God, which is the cosmos in this concept, the cosmos that you see up in space, and it made everything. Why didn't she stop slavery? Why did she create white people to enslave us? Is she not aware of her own body? Is she not aware of the stuff that's going on in her own body? She has a period. She has a cleansing period. Why isn't she cleansed them? Why is she waiting until after the fact all this is done? Right? So he's looking at me like, right? Because I mean, this is, we are the reflection of this black woman, of this God, the cosmos, right? With the sons and daughters of this cosmos. So why didn't it stop it? Better yet, I said, let's not just pick with Allah. Let's pick with any of the African gods. Any and all, whatever form you want to talk about. Right? Whether you call it a goddess or whether you call it a god, whether you're saying they're from Africa or you're saying they're not from Africa, why didn't any of them stop it? Why are you just stopping with Allah? Why are you just talking about Allah about it? Any of those concepts. And why are you telling us leave Allah and go to this one over here? Okay, if I went to that one over there, then you should be asking that one the same question. Why you didn't step in? Right? And then you're going to tell me, well, towards the end, the scientific cycle, what's going to happen is that the sun's going to heat up and it's going to destroy all these devils. The sun's going to heat up and it's going to bake all them up. Okay, why the sun going to wait till now? Why didn't do it at the very beginning? The sun, we see it all the time. So why is it going to wait till now? Up underneath the sun, all this stuff happened. So if that's God, and it's a seen God, wow, we really got some questions. I can see you directly. You can see me. I'm down here being killed. I'm down here being raped. My women's being raped. The children's being raped. Fed the alligators. Fed the crocodiles. Men castrated. So why does the sun wait? If we're the direct son and daughters of the sun. So the same question can be, well, my point is the same question I was asking him according to their understanding. Now, we know there's a creator. And I said, and at the same time, you're saying the same thing to me that I'm saying, but you're saying in a little bit different way. You're telling me the sun's going to cook them later. And I'm telling you that there's going to be a Yom Kippur. So how can you go against the concept of a Yom Kippur? See, you can't go once with those type of arguments. You can't be one-sided about it. You can't be one-sided about it. And so the natural question I asked him, I said, okay, so now I'm putting all that to the side. So what? We just become atheists? Right? We just become atheists? I said, but we know that there's an order here. We know there's a creator. I said, now, as far as for us, I said, as far as for Islam is concerned, I can go somewhere and reference it. And I can show you where there's clear hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said he will stand up on the day of judgment and bear witness against a person who enslaved a free man. I can show you clear references in the Quran where it talks about the zakat is for freeing of slaves. I can show you inside the Quran where at the time when Islam came and people were still involved in slavery, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was trying hard to call his people to the deen, but they wasn't trying to listen. I can show you that even in that time period, he said, don't force, okay, you still have slaves, don't force your women, slaves, into prostitution when they desire chastity. So that's one step of loosening the knot of slavery. Right? So the thing about it is, when the Prophet ﷺ, and I explained to him, when the Prophet ﷺ came, servitude and slavery was common. I said, you can't go out. I said, right now, if you go to any of the hoods or you go anywhere, and there's a certain way that things operate, you can't just walk up in there. I mean, you can, but you're not going to have too many people, change right away. You go out to the corner, you tell people stop selling crack. Hey man, you shouldn't be selling. Y'all stop selling that. That's bad for our people. How many people is going to listen right away? But if you had a system, well, first, how do I do this? Okay, first, I got to let them understand that there's one God. There's one creator. There's one being who has a supreme authority. And that there will be a day of accounting. Because these people, they don't understand that there's a supreme authority really and an accounting with it. They just think that there's a supreme being somewhere and, many other different beings, many different gods and goddesses, but there ain't no accountability. So with that, a person is going to do what they really want to do anyway and don't think he'll be held accountable. But if you can inculcate inside the mind of people step by step, stage by stage, as we know the Quran says it, we revealed this Quran to you stage by stage so that may strengthen your heart. So it was given stage by stage. so that slowly the concepts can go into the dome of the people. Okay, there's one God alone, no partner. Okay, we got that. Okay, there's a day of accounting. Now, once you believe there's a day of accounting, now here come the laws. You gotta remember, the dawah of Islam was given to not just the Muslim, but it was really given at the non-Muslim. That's who you were calling to dawah. So I explained that to him. That's who a lot of these verses in the Quran, they was directed to non-Muslims, because at first there wasn't no Muslims following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are all non-Muslims these ayahs were revealed towards. You know, they had slaves. So the concepts of the Quran were introduced into the society that were full of mushrikeen. You know, introduced. Don't force your slave girls, you know, into prostitution when they desire chastity, when they desire not to do that, right? And then the rule of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you know, feed the slave the same food you eat, clothe the slave with the same clothing that you wear, right? And things of that nature. So I'm telling them, these are rules that are put out there, right? And people have a chance to compare. Like, okay, Muhammad is saying this, and the society does that. His concept of God, his concept of Allah is logical. It makes sense. There's a day of accounting, right? And then there's these rules about slaves. It made the person think. So that's stage by stage, loosening the shackles of slavery, right? And the more as time went on, Islam was revealed over a course of 23 years. So the more time went on, the more concepts of the deen came out, and the more steps against, you know, oppression and servitude and slavery came out. And it slowly started loosening all that, right? And so the aim of the Prophet ﷺ was to give slaves freedom. That's why if you look at any ayat, most majority of the ayats in the Quran, you'll see the rights of zakat, the rights of charity is for the wayfarer or the traveler, the orphan, and then it says those in slavery, to free the slave, right? So there's even one sort of where it talks about, I believe it's Surah 90. I think it's Surah 90. It's Madaraj. It's Madaraj, yeah. And it says that, but he has not taken the steep path. And what will explain to you the steep path is? It is the freeing of the slave. So that lets you know. And then you go to the very end of the ayat. It talks about those who don't take those who don't take that path, there'll be a burning fire waiting for them. So I mean, right there, there's a concept right there, that there's some type of punishment in the end. So clearly inside the Quran, it does mention, and it does give the understanding that you have to free the slaves, right? And so then I asked him, I said, now, that was in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And we also have hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that his own people would go astray. So while you're sitting there telling me about what these Arabs did, I could show you also a hadith where many of the Sahaba, or especially one of them actually, came up to the Prophet and asked him about the end times, and asked him about, you know, saying, will there be any good, will there be any bad after this Islam? And he says, yeah, there'll be some bad, and after that it'll be good, but it'll be tainted. And then he kept going on down, and he said, and then one of the companions asked him, he said, oh, then the Prophet volunteered actually information. He said, and there will be a people that will speak our language and be like, you know, the complexion, but they speak their language, and basically said they'll be the worstest people, right? So I'm explaining this to him, and I said, you got to watch out when you get things narrated to you about Islam from people that are not Muslims, or even some Muslims. I said, because the thing of the matter is this, and when it comes to the topic of slavery, they either dodge you, they don't want to talk about it, or they don't know too much about it because they wasn't taught that when they came into the deen, or, you know, you get a person that knows about it, but he done got some exaggerated information, so he's adding quadruple on to what happened. You know, I said, but at the end of the day, the same questions that you're asking the Muslim is the same question that you need to ask anybody else with any other type of belief. Because I mean, after all, you saying that Islam's not an African religion or something like that, and he says there's African gods. Why don't you worship African gods? And I'm like, what was them African gods at when the Africans was in slavery? Right? So that would make a person say, man, forget them African gods. And then the last thing that I told him, it sort of made him sort of look like, I said, but we can flip it around and look at it another way. And he's like, well, what way is that? I said, that all the other guys that people believe in and all the other ways that people believe in, and I'm not saying this is the reason why, so don't quote me on that. I'm not saying that's the reason why. I said, it might just be, and I don't really believe it this way, but I'm just saying it as a matter of argument to him. I was saying, I said, or it might just be that Allah allowed for those people to become victorious and enslave people so that they know that Allah is real and supreme and that he is the true Lord and them other ones is false. You should have seen him looking at me. What are you saying, brother? Are you saying, one of those? I know you're not saying that he says slaves, okay, that type of thing. But I was just saying, look, I'm just saying to you, the fact of the matter is that it's happening. And the fact of the matter is that, all those who claim to have monotheism of some sort are victorious in the world today. Even if some slavery happened, they became victorious in some type of way. I said, so a person on the reverse end would say, well, don't you get the point by now that the other guys that you was worshiping is false? And you were so hard-headed? So, Allah allowed it. Or something to that effect. Now, that's not my argument, but because we know Allah allows people to do a lot of things. That's like I'm saying, why doesn't, and that was the same thing I was saying according to their own beliefs. I said, why doesn't the sun make this government stop doing what it's doing to us? Right? The oppression that's going on. Why is the sun, who's supposed to be God, why does it not stop the hood being in chaos the way it is? Why is it don't just nuke, what I'm saying, these quote unquote white devils? You know what I'm saying? Shaitan. Why don't they just nuke them? So, I mean, the same arguments can be used, and so people need to really stop targeting Islam, with these type of arguments. Yeah, we do need to talk about a white Arab slave trade because it does still happen. It's still happening. So I expressed that to him. I said, you're right. It's something that needs to be done, and Muslims, we got to step up, especially if we African or black Muslims. We got to step up. Oppression is oppression, period. And so, that's an issue that we need to bring because I even, it was like 4 years ago, I brought that to one of these brothers. There's an African brother from Sudan, and what was that brother? Another dude. He was from, I think he was from Syria or Lebanon or somewhere like that. But no, he's from Yemen. He was from Yemen. And I questioned him about the stuff that's going on in Yemen. I said, bro, I got some concerns. I said, there's black people over there in Yemen and, they're being oppressed. Oh, no, brother, they're not being oppressed. That's just the news media and this and that. I said, no, man. I said, even Al Jazeera reported it. I said, even several Arab channels reported it. It is happening. So don't try to give me the brainwash. Don't try to tell me no, it's not happening. You come over here, you try to act like, some of y'all try to act like you good with us, but you treating our brothers over there, the same way because of their skin color. There's discrimination. And I said, I noticed that everywhere there's a darker population, the whites of that area is oppressing the darker population. And now as a Muslim, I'm not supposed to say nothing about it because of what? Oh, brother, we're all one. Listen, if we, oneness comes when justice is done. Prophet Muhammad SAW didn't just come out and say we're just one. Prophet Muhammad SAW stood up against all oppression, all different levels. That's what brought the concept of oneness. So some of them don't even want to talk about it. They don't even want to talk about it. You know. So but yeah, that was something that I wanted to share, because today was a pretty deep conversation. And if I had this phone on me, I should have recorded it. Should have brought this phone that I'm on right now. But it was pretty deep. But he left there with some dean and some different perspectives, and questioning even some of his own concepts, because you can't put that on us and then turn around and don't put it on the so-called, if you want to call it like that, the so-called African God that you worship, or that you revere, or that you invoke, or that you speak to, and ask it the same question that you're trying to ask us about Allah. And then, I want to know what did your God say about how to heal slavery? We got the methodology, because the Prophet ﷺ came and gave us the stage by stage by stage by stage how to get people out of that condition. My question to those who don't have that, how do you get the people that are in slavery, or in the mentality even of slavery, out of that position, stage by stage by stage by stage? You don't have an answer. You didn't have an answer. I asked him that. How you get them? Well, we just, take them out of slavery. We just rise up in a revolution. We just fight. I said, yes, brother, but let's be realistic. You have to build power. You have to, manufacture your own guns, your own bullets. There's bullet makers. Now pointing, gave me some things. There's a thing called bullet makers. You can make your own bullets, right? I said, but that's going to take a while. In the meantime, while you're gathering up that strength, what will be the program that you will put down to liberate people from slavery? Not just physically, but mentally too. Because physically, when a person's put in slavery, it mentally damages them. So you got to have some mentally, stage by stage, work them away from the slavery that they're put into, right? So, he's like, well, the only thing I can think of is a revolution. Just bust heat, brother. I said, that's good, but that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I said, that's not something that's going to happen today. We need something that's going to be a process that it works on the mind and soul of a person, step by step by step. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the best. It's the best criteria. I said, you can't go to the Bible, because it tells you right there in the Bible straight up, and even in the New Testament, slaves obey your master. They don't have no program to get up out of that one. Right? Slaves obey your master. So that's a dead end for that one. And then for African religions, or that's what he kept calling it. But I told him, I said, Islam's an African religion. I said, that's another thing that you got to address, is because the areas of Yemen and Arabia, I said, that was part of the ancient Kushite Empire. I said, and, a lot of stuff, majority of almost everything that Islam has in it, you could trace it back to ancient, African civilization. I said, so that's just an Orientalist, a European colonialized way of trying to separate Islam from its African roots, so that you could point the finger and say it's not African. I said, and that was itself grafted. That concept itself was grafted by, Orientalists and white supremacists, because they want to divide the lands of Africa and share it. And then you got the, white Arab bloc, they want to share something. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but I said, my whole point in this is that we need, if you're going against Islam, and you're going against the Quran, and you're going against the Sunnah, you're going against, because, I take, hadith from the Prophet Muhammad's family, the imams from them, and the Sahaba. I don't do the sectarian thing. That's one thing I always tell people. I don't do the sectarian things, because that was something that was made up in itself. And the Prophet ﷺ shoot us away from that. So, I don't involve myself in shirk, though. I won't involve myself in shirk, practices of shirk or stuff like that. I know how to distinguish, but the whole fact of the matter is, where there's truth, that's what you take. You take from truth, wherever it may be, wherever it may be. So, that's basically the conversation that I had today with them two brothers. And, you know, it was, they came away with something. And I came away with, you know, basically seeing that some of them, you know, just don't got a profound, you know, understanding. I mean, some of them came from Christianity and they never even looked into Islam. And as far as they got was maybe some of the NOI teachings, you know, but, you know, because he kept saying, I don't believe in no man in the sky. You know, I was like, a man in the sky, brother. I don't believe in a man in the sky either, brother. Where you get that from? I don't know. I don't understand what you know, first I was thrown off. I said, a man in the sky. He said, yeah, the man in the sky, he gonna come down here and touch you. I was like, no, brother. I wouldn't, no. I don't even know what to say to that. I can look up at the heavens and earth and I can clearly see that ain't no man make that. I'm a man, so, you know, I'm connected like that. Because he said some weird concept too, like we connect with the cosmos and we're from the cosmos and we're from the heavens, and, you know, so, you know, it's us and us is it. And I said, okay, well then, you know, then like, you know, the story of Ibrahim, you know, my Lord makes the sun rise from the east. Can you make it rise from the west? You know, he just looked at me. I said, you saying you connected with the cosmos like that? You got some powers and you a god, and, you know, oh, you don't know what I mean. I said, okay, define. And then when he started saying to connect the cosmos again, I came back again. I was like, okay, can you make the sun rise from the west? All right, let's get us up out of this slavery and captivity. I believe you know, we're all Khalifa of the earth. That I do believe. But you know, I don't know about the other stuff, you know. So that's just basically the conversation I had with them two brothers. And alhamdulillah, you know, it was a beautiful conversation. And I don't know, inshallah, I think one of them might, you know, because I saw the brain start going, you know, like, okay, let me, you know, he's going to go back and think about that. So, inshallah, do us for brothers like that. You know, do us for brothers like that. I know they're a nuisance though. You know, sometimes they be coming against the Islam, and, you know, some brothers just be like, I don't know. You know, but you got to have the sabr. You got to have the patience and understand that some of the stuff they bringing up in history and some of the stuff that's going on now, they're legitimate concerns. So that's and that's the difference. See, I'm going to say this to my Muslim brothers and sisters. When you come across these guys that are Afrocentric and, you know, if you want to call it that, and they're anti-Islam, you know, and we can't, I mean, we can, people can do whatever they want to do, but we can't put them in the same category almost all the time as the mushrikeen and the kuffar in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'm going to tell you why. Because those mushrikeen and those kuffar, they didn't have no legitimate concerns, you know, about, you know, what Muslims are doing. You know, they was invited to the deen, and the only reason why they didn't want to accept is because they were making money off the idols. It was the economic base why they didn't want the deen. You know, they were like, man, you threatening our gods? Our gods is our revenue. We make money off of this. So, no, we're not accepting Islam, and you need to stop teaching it, because the more people that it spreads to, the more people starts accepting it, then the more we can't get no money based upon our idols. So you really need to stop spreading this. And then on top of that, you give rights to slaves now. You need to stop spreading this. We make money off our slaves. So everything to them was an economic base in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the enemies of Islam. You know, they was choosing this world over the next. That's what they were doing. You know, whereas some of the brothers nowadays who are non-Muslims, when they bring up things about slavery and they bring up, you know, certain issues, those are legitimate issues. Those are legitimate concerns. And anybody who's already ignorant, you know, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really just opens up their heart, you know, make them just, you know, just automatic, just all the way open, you know. Some people have to have that convincing first to see the light, and then they might open. Then Allah guides them, you know. So, it's a situation that we're gonna have to. I mean, to give certain people dawah, we're going to have to address the slavery issue, that white Arab slavery issue in the Muslim world. And if you want people to come to the deen, you cannot run away from it. You cannot scoot it up under the rug. You can't do none of that. You got to address it head on and say it's wrong, and then provide your, like the Quran says, say bring your proof of what you say is the truth. You know, gotta do it. You know, otherwise, I mean, some of them, they're not trying to hear it. They're like, man, you calling me to a religion that's going to tell you to enslave my people. I'm not hearing that. You know, so we got to represent the deen correctly. And, alhamdulillah, Allah's on our side. Alhamdulillah, wallahu akbar. Allah's on our side. So, let the believers put trust and forward. And unfortunately, even if you're a brother that's not real versed in the deen, don't never let that stop you either. Because here's the thing. Some of these white Arab, they, you know, you don't have to argue with them to prove a point that this must stop. It has to stop. I was looking on a documentary from Al Jazeera, and the way I saw the Iraqis were treating the dark Iraqis, black Iraqis, calling them slaves. And then I saw one in Tunisia, how they was in the white Arabs in Tunisia was treating the black Tunisians, calling them slaves. You know, subhanallah. And then in Yemen, you got the white Arabs there. They was calling the brothers, the Akdam, they was calling them slaves and discriminating. I mean, it's all over. You go to even South America, the South American Spanish, they oppressing the black Spanish. It's just crazy worldwide. It's crazy worldwide. So, I mean, this has to be addressed all the way around the board. You know, and some of the brothers and sisters, for some odd reason, they not trying to, you know, I guess, you know, when they, and I know, because people coming to the deen and we're giving that utopia, oh, we're all one brotherhood, oh, we're all one unit, and that's your brother, and that's my, well, if that's your brother, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? He said, help your brother whether he's an oppressor or oppressed. And they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, we can understand by helping him when he's oppressed, but how do we help him when he's oppressing? And the Prophet ﷺ said, by stopping him from oppressing. That's your help to him. So, if you're calling them your brothers, you got to step up and let them know, hey, you know, subhanAllah, Allah's created us in different language. He said He created us in different tribes. Shuba'a, and the Arabic word Shuba'a, when it's Qabiltu wa Shuba'a, Qabiltu is tribe, Shuba'a is a nation, but Shuba'a is different from the word Ummah. Ummah can be many different, you know, peoples. Ummah could be many different peoples. But Shuba'a means a blood nation, a nation by blood, meaning you're linked through common ancestry. So, for example, black people, we would be considered a Shuba'a. And then if we had different tribes or clans, that would be Qabil, right? So, we belong to a Shuba'a, but we also belong to an Ummah. But right now, your Shuba'a is being oppressed worldwide. Right? So, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. It all has rights. It all has rights in this deen. Right? So, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, that's all I want to say. I want to share, you know, the little, well, it wasn't little, but it was a pretty deep conversation. And, you know, for one of the brothers left, he sort of turned around, smiled at me like, he said, man, you a cool Muslim, man. You're a cool Muslim. Muslims don't want to talk about it, man. They just, you know, start trying to quote something to me. He said, man, you came off from history first, and then you hit me with, he said, I see you. I see you hit me with the, I'm just now, yeah, I see you. You hit me with that Quran later. You know what I'm saying? You hit me, okay? Yeah. So, you know, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. You know, we love our people. The Shuba'a, we love them. The Ummah, we want to see it the best. You know what I'm saying? And we got to give the best type of dawah though. And that means we can't shy from none of the subjects. That's like, oh, one more thing. That's like the other subject. 4 days ago, I had, Aisha was 6 and 9 and you got a pedophile prophet. So I said to him, I said, see, I don't understand why Christians are trying to get into difference of theology or fiqh among the Muslims. Why are you trying to push a certain fiqh? Right? You coming in choosing one type of fiqh over another type of fiqh. You supposed to be a Christian. You supposed to be out here teaching me Christianity. Why are you worried about, which laws, is what? I understand the concern though. I understand the concern. So I had to tell him, I said, the reason why I'm telling you this is this. You see, you little teachers over there, your little pastors or preachers or whatever you follow, them guys right there, they have an agenda. Okay. They want people to become Christian. All right. So they're willing to say and do whatever. I said, but here's the thing about it. What you got to do is go look up Aisha was 21. Right. I said, whenever somebody brings you something about Islam, you got to go look at, is there a different viewpoint among Muslims? It doesn't matter if, this Muslim saying that's not an authentic viewpoint or that's not an authentic viewpoint. That shouldn't be your concern. Which one's the authentic viewpoint among the Muslims? That's an argument that Muslims have among Muslims. I said, but for you, a person that's outside of being a Muslim and who's a Christian, if you're going to speak on us, you should at least look at all the different viewpoints and say, oh, okay, well, Islam, don't say that one right there. Islam could possibly be saying all these different things. So, I'm not going to just say this one viewpoint reflects all of Islam. I'm not going to say that. I said, which is what you came here and did today. You told me about the 6 and 9-year-old, but you didn't even bother to investigate. You just blindly just followed it. I said, so I had him actually type in Aisha was 21 when married to the Prophet and the arguments for that. He was like, I said, yeah, they're not going to tell you that. I said, so whenever something about Islam, he said, well, what is your view? I said, I accept that viewpoint. That's a viewpoint I accept. I've had arguments with brother over it. And then usually them brothers, I just leave them alone because I think something wrong with a person who, really is pushing hard, for, it's okay to sleep with a 6 or 9-year-old. You're pushing hard for it when there's another viewpoint. That don't seem right to me, so that's the only thing I'm going to say. I think that's the last thing I'm going to say, because those are the two main issues that a lot of people, and there's a third one, the way women are treated in Islam. Those main things is what most people focus on. How women are treated in Islam, what age was Aisha when she was married to the Prophet, and the slave trade. I don't understand why black Muslim, especially a black Muslim, would be a Muslim and these Arabs enslaved people. And then last but not least, and the last thing, I keep saying last but not least, but then something else popped in my head. The one thing I did tell the brother was this, and he kept saying, well, when he first started, he's like, well, the white Arabs, the Arab slave trade was worse than, what the Europeans did, what the Christians did. So why you going? I said, no, let me stop you there. I said, yes, it's true. They castrated people. Yes, that's true. And that's bad because then the man can't continue his seed. I said, but you know what though? I will never. I said, because that type of argument was grafted by, it seemed like a white supremacist type of Orientalist. I said, now I'm going to tell you why. I said, because see, they want to free themselves from the blame. Right? And anybody that participated in that is the blame. That's just like some of the Igbo in Africa. Well, they wasn't exactly Igbo, but they was related to them. So they were close like Igbo. But they were traditional African practitioners, and they helped with the slave trade. Right? Yeah, they helped with the slave trade. And they didn't know that. But see, the difference is, at least they apologized. They even made a TV apology and offered land for any person over here in America and in Britain who want to come back there. They offered them land. Say, you can have land. We'll give you land. We'll give you this. We apologize. We're sorry. We was involved in, wars, this and that. And, we had no idea that they was going to do that once you go over there. We thought it was going to be like, how we do it, how we was doing it, so we didn't know. They had enough heart to stand up and say, I'm sorry. And not just say I'm sorry, because just sorry don't cut it. But actually to give some type of form of reparations. They gave them land. right? They like, you can get the land and then you can travel back and forth and, however stuff like that. So, I mean, at least they step forward. I ain't heard it from a European yet or an Arab. Right? So I don't want to hear that argument from a white supremacist or an Arab that, hey, with some of your African brothers, sold you to slavery. Yeah, but they also spoke up. And they also came out. And they also offered land. And they're also part of the Back to Africa movement too, some of them. So, what about you? You going to speak up? You going to say something? You going to offer something? No, you're not. Right? So that was another thing that that we spoke on. And then he didn't have no idea about that. I said, you didn't know about that? Oh, yeah, go look that up. It's called the Arab Confederacy. Yeah, they weren't Muslims and they weren't Christians and they weren't none of the monotheistic faiths. They were practitioners of traditional African spiritual practice. So now where we at with this? And then so the thing he said about the slavery, when he said the Arab one was worse. And this is not me sticking up for white Arabs and nothing like that because, I'm Muslim. This is just my observation and the comparison between the two. And I had to point it out to him. I said, hold on, you can't say, yeah, the white Arab slavery was that was very bad. That was very wrong. But you can't say it's worse. He said, yeah, because they cut off I said, it's true. A man cannot, procreate, can't have a seed. I said, but you know what that man can do? That man could pass on his language. That man could pass on his culture to another person he may meet. And then them people whom he becomes their teacher will mention his name as a teacher. And it is through that other person's seed that he will live on. His memory will live on. When a person teaches, yeah, my teacher, he was a person that was, blah, blah. And, he taught me he taught me his language. He taught me his culture. He taught me this. He passed that on. So he lives on in that manner. That's different. I said, when the slavery happened under the whites, it wasn't just slavery. What does feeding a baby to alligators got anything to do with slavery? The Arabs didn't do that. Right? What does, raping a man in front of the woman and the child got anything to do really with slavery? I mean, with having a person just in servitude just so he can work on the field for you. And laughing and getting a kick off of it. That's something sick. That's deeply sick. That's not just economics. That's not you just explain somebody economically. There's something deeply sick in your head where you get off on raping a little baby or feeding a little baby to an alligator and you can stare at that baby, or slitting a woman's stomach open and the baby fall out and you stomp on it. I said, you never gonna you will never tell me the white Arab slave trade was worse on people than what the white slavery did. It was not. If we still someday am I speaking English? Can you give me back the exact language that I had from that side of my family? Now, if I want to go to maybe Black Aboriginal or Native American side or something like that, okay, we can. I can basically I done trace basically that's my my grandmother's mother, something like that. Right? That's different. I can trace that. No problem. It's over there in Virginia. They're not, so I mean, and then travel down to the South and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a different story. But, from the African side, can I get, what exact language and culture did my people have? Right? So it's gone. It's gone. Never, how you gonna find it? So we still suffering today, right now. Right? I said, so you don't tell me. I said, I met maybe one or two black Arabs, brothers that are African descent, but they speak Arabic by tongue. One, he speak Arabic, he spoke French, and then he actually spoke his mother tongue, like whatever the tribe's name, I forget that he from, because the white Arabs didn't care too much about if you knew what your tribe was. They didn't care about that. They just left that alone. They were like, okay, speak your language. You're gonna learn Quran, no. Some of them was like that. We're gonna force the Quran on you. You're gonna learn that. But you can, whatever tribe you're from, so what? Just know this: my tribe dominated your tribe. So they would actually let you keep your tribal knowledge of your tribe so that they can brag that their tribe, their white Arab tribe, dominated your African tribe as a form of supremacy. Right? So that's not worse than, because if that African ever escaped, he knows where to go. He knows where to go home to. Right? So it's not worse. It's not worse. So that's all I have to say. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Hope I wasn't everywhere, but the conversation was deep. So, and it was fresh. It was only like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. So I was just thinking about it. I said, you know what? Let me hop on this phone real quick and let me go ahead and tell my brothers and sisters out there the conversation that I had. Alhamdulillah. And I know I didn't say, well, I think I said Assalamu alaikum as soon as I came on here. But if not, yes, Sister Muslima Michelle, each one teach one, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Tuesday Anna says, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. So with saying that, black liberation, black power. Now some brothers, if you're one of them brothers that don't know, I do be saying that. So if you got an issue with that, you can hit me up and I would be more than happy to break that down to you, how there's nothing wrong in Islam with saying that. I actually have a video on that, but and I went through Quran and Hadith on that. So saying that, I think I covered all that. See, there you go. The other subject was apostates. Now I'll run that down real quick. That wasn't too long. So I told him basically, simply, there was a thing in Arabia called asabiya. Asabiya does not mean nationalism. Asabiya means solidarity. And the literal word asabiya means solidarity. And what it is you help your, and this is why the Prophet came up with the saying, help your brother whether he's an oppressor or oppressed. Because actually that statement was an original statement where the tribes of Asabiya used to say that. And what it meant to them was, well, exactly how it sounds. If my brother's doing something wrong, well, how we say it, I'm a ride with. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm riding. It don't matter. Whether right or wrong, I'm rolling with you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that meant. So the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that statement back, and then they was confused, like, huh? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, help your brother when he's an oppressor or the oppressed? And that's what they asked. And it's like, well, alhamdulillah, sister. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. He said the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was saying, they was like surprised at the Prophet, like, wow, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that? He's saying help your brother with his oppressed. I thought he was against Asabiya. So then he said, Ya Rasulullah, we can understand how we can help our brother if he's the oppressed, but how do we help him if he's an oppressor? He said, by stopping him from being an oppressor. That's your help to him. So that type of concept, the concept of Asabiya, or that saying, that was the Asabiya saying. And this plays right directly into apostasy. Because in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when they tried to declare war and their allies declared war, that was it. Everyone from the children to the women to the men were expected, based on the code of Asabiya, to participate. Everyone's got the part in it, or at least support it. And if you don't, you're outcast from the tribe, and you can't survive usually alone in that hot desert by yourself. Tribalism was very important. So if a person came to Islam and he left his tribe and he left his family, although he's related to them, number one, that's already breaking Asabiya. But number two, if he's become a Muslim, hold on. If he's become a Muslim, then what will happen is that he's expected to be loyal to the cause of Islam, right? But if he rejects Islam at that time of the Prophet Muhammad, if you rejected Islam, if you rejected the deen, that meant automatically you were going back to your tribe. And that meant automatically Because you were going back to your tribe, you were joining in Asabiya. That means you will be fighting the Muslims automatically, right? As soon as you left, as soon as you said, I'm not Muslim no more, that meant I declare war on Islam, because my tribe that I'm from, I need to survive, I'm going back to. So I'll be back to kill you. That's what that meant. So they said, oh, well, if you're a person posse who you leave this deen, then you become the enemy. And if we're in a state of middle war, your blood is halal, because you've admitted that you're an open enemy now, right? So they actually divided this into two categories, though, and one, there was no death penalty. I have a posting on there about that, right? But it meant basically that, you know, there was no penalty if a person just, you know, stopped, you know, believing, you know, and then they just went about their way and sent guarantees of peace, and that they would not involve themselves in any war with the people or something like that. If they just went off and just went by themselves, and I have a post on that, so if even you guys want to see that proof, I'll shoot it to you, inshallah. If a person just went off with their own belief, like Surah Al-Kafirun, for example, to you be your way, to me be mine. I will not, you know, all you who that reject faith, I do not worship that which you worship, nor will you worship that which I worship, right? Nor do I want to worship that which you worship, nor do you want to worship that which I worship. To you be your way, and to me be mine. Now, some brothers say, no, man, that's after a person become a Muslim, you know, and then, you know, I mean, that's before a person become a Muslim. If they just a non-Muslim, that's what you say. That only applies then. No, it doesn't. Because the thing about it is this: a rejecter of the deen is a rejecter of the deen. They thought about it, whether they became part of it or didn't, and then they rejected it. So that's a kafir. Apostate is a kafir. He's a rejecter of the deen. So Surah Al-Kafirun is what applies to him. Now, you can just go off and believe what you want to believe, but now if, for example, you go off and you reject the deen, and then you're going to go join those who are killing Muslims, now you're in treason. You left this deen so you can go join those who are killing Muslims, who are trying to stop the dawah of Islam, basically, for the message spread, and you're participating in killing. That is when the death penalty is put up on a person. You see? But a lot of people, like, you know, and there's a lot of hidden agendas out there, you know. There's a lot of politics out there, how some people are spreading the idea about the apostasy thing, you know, whether it be regional, you know, conflicts or things of that nature. You know, some of these brothers who have knowledge, you know, the white Arabs who have knowledge, they're using the deen for their own political aim and agenda of their group or their movement or something like that, and then they get those who convert or those who revert caught up in it, and they start teaching us these concepts, and they make it just so simplified. I mean, like, you know, they don't give us the delineations. You see what I'm saying? They don't give us the delineations, and you got to search that out for yourself. And if you're a blind follower, you're not going to find it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't put it in your heart to really start, you know, seeking it for yourself, it's hard to find. But alhamdulillah, that's why I be sharing some stuff I find. Some brothers be like, man, you're out there. Brother, that's not deen. I mean, clearly you're quoting Quran and Hadith, but that's just not the deen I was taught. You know, so I don't know what Aqidah you on, and then I have to get on them with that word, Aqidah. Go look up Aqidah in Judaism, because there's a lie on that too. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, when the woman, and I'm going to end on this, when a woman was a mushrikeen, when she was an idol worshiper, and she would leave her husband towards the Muslims, the Quran very clearly said, it says to examine them for their faith. But the word that they used for the examination wasn't, if I remember correctly, it was iman. The word was iman. So, that's the word that was used. It wasn't nothing to do with aqidah, right? Now, there's a word, qada, which means a knot, or it means an oath that you take. And they say that that's where the word aqidah in this form evolved from later on. But that evolved way after the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you go look up in the Sirah, if you go look up in the Ahadith, if you go look up in the Quran, the word Aqidah in that form is not there at all, nor the concept how they put to it. But the word that it supposedly evolved from is there, Qada. Qada, which means a knot, or Qada, which means a vow that you take. Like if I say, I'm going to go down here to this store, right? That's Qada. And then I say, Inshallah. That's Qada. That's it. Or I tie my shoe, or I tie a knot, like when them witches in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when they used to do magic and they would tie the knots. That's Qada, right? So yeah, there's morphology words. That's what they call it, morphology. There's words that evolve from it, and it's in the Quran, and none of those words are Aqidah. But if you go look in Judaism, you can bust people about, you know, them lying and making this up, because, you know, a lot of people use the word. But the prophet prophesied, he told us what would happen. He told us we would follow the Christians and Jews step by step, inch by inch, till you end up in a lizard hole. He told us that. Right? So why we don't get it? Right? When I brought it up the first time, like 3 years ago, oh, subhanallah, brother, Aqidah, this Aqidah. I said, none of the companions of the Prophet, none of the Ahlul Bayt, none of the Prophet himself, the Quran itself, none of the Hadith said the word Aqidah, nor did they have a word like that with the concept of a creed. The words they used in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Iman, Taqwa, Ikhlas. So why are you taking this word that comes from Judaism? And you can literally go and look in Judaism and you can find the word Aqidah. Why are you using that word? SubhanAllah. You know, and the cool thing about it is that word has been a cause of a lot of sectarian killing too. Because if you're not within this certain Aqidah that I put together, right, and you outside of that, then you outside of Islam. So they made that word into an actual defining of what a Muslim is. That's bad. SubhanAllah, that's bad. You know, and then it's just a mess. It's crazy. It's crazy. SubhanAllah. So Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I took up enough time. Been nice, but may Allah give much barakat to all you brothers and sisters out there. Black power, black liberation.